The banishment. A weakling among warriors, the sky over planet Virex was always dark, filled with red clouds and the sound of warships flying high above. This world knew only one thing: power. Strength was everything. Mercy was weakness. In the center of this world stood the Blackstone Palace, home of King Vorax, the warlord who had ruled for 200 years. He had won every battle, crushed every enemy, and built the strongest empire in the galaxy. But today the king was angry. Inside the grand hall, warriors stood in silence. The air was heavy. Torches burned blue fire along the walls. And in the middle on the silver floor knelt a girl. Her name was Zura. She was the daughter of King Vorax. She was not like the others. While others trained with blades and bombs, Zura read books. While her people shouted war chants, Zura listened to the stars. And while her father roared, she asked questions. "Why must we always fight?" she once asked him. He had slapped her across the face that day. Now she knelt before him one last time. Vorax stood tall in his heavy armor, his glowing red eyes staring down at her. His voice was like thunder. "You are no daughter of mine." Zura didn't cry. She had done that already. Her body was small, her skin pale silver, her long black hair tied back. She looked calm, but inside, her heart was breaking. "You are weak," he continued. "You bring shame to my bloodline. You speak of peace. You protect the small. You feel feelings." He spat the last word like poison. The crowd of alien warriors around them laughed. Some looked confused. Others just stared. No one dared to speak. "Father," Zura said softly, "strength is not just power. Strength is control. Strength is choosing not to destroy." "Enough," Vorax shouted. "You will not poison this court with your human-loving thoughts." She looked up. "Human?" Vorax's eyes narrowed. "We found your mother on a dying planet. She was not one of us. You are half alien and half nothing." Gasps filled the room. Zura's breath caught in her throat. She had never known her mother. Now she knew why. Vorax pointed to the sky. "You will leave this world. I will not kill you. Death would be mercy. Instead, I banish you to Earth." Guards stepped forward. They grabbed Zura by the arms, pulling her toward the launch hangar. "You can't do this," she said. "I belong here." Vorax turned his back. "No, you never did." In a dark chamber under the palace, a small pod was ready. Silver, silent, cold. A prison with wings. The guards pushed Zura inside. She did not fight. She looked up at the stars. "Above, Earth," she whispered. "What kind of place is that?" The door shut. A low hum started. The pod's engines lit up. From above, King Vorax watched. "Let them deal with you," he said. "Let you fade into the dirt with the weak." The pod shot into the sky. Flames followed behind it. Within seconds, it was gone. Light years away, a quiet forest on Earth slept under the stars. The night was peaceful. An owl called in the distance. Crickets sang their song. Then the sky broke open. A flash of light ripped through the clouds. A small pod came crashing down, shaking the ground. Trees bent. Birds flew away in panic. A man and woman driving down a nearby road stopped their truck. "Did you see that?" the woman asked. "Something fell," the man said. "Come on." They ran through the trees, hearts pounding. There, in a clearing, the silver pod hissed and opened. Inside they saw a young girl, barely 12. Her skin glowed slightly in the dark. Her hair floated for a moment as if in zero gravity. The girl opened her eyes. Bright, glowing blue. The man stepped back. "What? Is she?" The woman moved closer. "She's just a child." The girl looked at them, confused, afraid. "Where am I?" she whispered. The woman smiled gently. "You're on Earth. You're safe now." Zura closed her eyes. But deep inside her, a voice still echoed. "You are no daughter of mine." Back on Virex, King Vorax stood alone in his chamber. He stared out into the stars. A general stepped forward. "She's gone, my king." Vorax didn't speak. The general hesitated. "What if she survives?" Vorax turned slowly. "If she survives, Earth will wish she hadn't." Growing up, human the night the stars fell, the Earth didn't notice. Most people were asleep. The world kept turning. The news never reported the strange object that crashed into the forest. No governments came. No satellites tracked the event. But for one small family in a quiet rural town, everything changed forever. Emma and David Walker were simple people. Kind, quiet, and childless. They lived in a small farmhouse at the edge of Greystone Woods. That night they followed the strange light and sound through the trees, and found her. A girl. Alone. Inside a smoking metal pod, glowing with blue lights, Emma stepped closer, ignoring the heat. The girl didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked up with wide, glowing eyes and whispered something in a language neither of them understood. They took her home. They named her Zura. They told the police they found her wandering, near the woods. The officers searched but found no sign of anyone else. There was no birth record, no missing child report, nothing. The world had no idea she existed. Emma and David decided to raise her like their own. They didn't care where she came from. All they knew was that she needed love, she needed safety. Zura never spoke about where she came from. Mostly because she couldn't remember. At night she saw shadows in her dreams, flashes of fire, tall towers, red skies, and a voice that haunted her. "You are no daughter of mine." She would wake up sweating, shaking. Emma would sit with her, brushing her hair back, whispering, "It's okay, baby. It was just a dream." But it wasn't. Years passed. Zura grew quickly. She looked human mostly, but there were differences. Small ones. She never got sick, not once. Her cuts healed in seconds. She could see in the dark. Her skin shimmered faintly, in moonlight, and once, when she was 10, she bent a steel rod in half without trying. Emma and David noticed, but they never asked. They never made her feel strange. "You're just special," Emma would say with a smile. And that's a beautiful thing. Zura believed her, until the incident at school. It was 7th grade. A boy named Connor, twice her size, pushed a smaller kid against the lockers. Zura stepped in without thinking. "Leave him alone," Connor laughed. "What are you gonna do, alien girl?" She didn't know how he knew to say that word. "Walk away," she said again. He shoved her. It wasn't hard, but something inside her snapped. In 1 second, he was flying across the hallway, slamming into the wall like a rag doll. Students screamed. Teachers rushed in. Zura didn't move. Her eyes were glowing, her hands shaking. The principal suspended her for 2 weeks. Emma and David were called. But before they arrived, something strange happened. A man was waiting near the school gates. Wearing a black coat, a hat pulled low. Zura noticed him watching her. Their eyes met. His lips moved. No sound came out, but she heard it. "You're not safe here." And just like that, he disappeared. That night, Zura sat on the roof staring at the stars. "Who am I?" she whispered. The wind answered with silence. But then, something buzzed. She looked down. Her old blanket, the one she had since the day she arrived. Tucked inside was a small, flat disc, silver and glowing. She had never seen it before. She touched it, a light blinked, and then a voice spoke, in the same language from her dreams, a deep, cold voice. "They are coming for you. Hide if you can. Fight if you must." Her eyes widened. Her body froze. And for the first time, she remembered something clearly. A tall man in armor, fire in the sky, her own scream as she was dragged away. "Father." The next day, things got worse. A satellite crashed near the town's edge. The army locked down the area, calling it a weather balloon. But Zura knew. They weren't human. That night, while David was fixing the barn lights, he saw movement near the trees. Glowing eyes, fast shadows, clicking sounds. He didn't say anything, but he locked every door that night. 2 days later, the man in the coat returned. This time, he came to the house. Emma opened the door. "Can I help you?" The man looked past her, straight at Zura. "You need to leave," he said. Emma frowned. "Excuse me?" He held up a badge. Government, maybe, but nothing she'd seen before. "My name is Agent Lyros. I'm not from here." "And she's not just a child." Emma's voice turned cold. "She's our daughter." "She's their target," he replied. "They've found her." Zura stepped forward. "Who are you?" The man looked at her with something between fear and respect. "I was there, on Virex. I served your father." Silence. Zura's breath caught. "He banished me." "Yes, but not because you were weak." His eyes narrowed. "Because he was afraid of you." "Why?" The agent didn't smile. "Because you were born with something no one on Virex has. You were born with empathy, and that child makes you the most dangerous weapon in 2 galaxies." The lights flickered. A rumble shook the ground. Outside, in the dark woods, red lights appeared, hovering low. Silent ships. Landing. Emma grabbed Zura's hand. "What's happening?" The agent drew a weapon. "They're here, and they're not coming to talk." Zura looked out the window, and something inside her, something deep and ancient, opened its eyes. They came from the stars. The night was too quiet. Not a single bird sang. Not a leaf moved. Even the wind had disappeared, like the planet was holding its breath. Zura stood at the window, frozen, just beyond the tree line. Glowing red lights hovered in the darkness. They didn't blink. They didn't move. They simply watched. "What are they waiting for?" Emma whispered. Agent Lyros stepped forward. "Confirmation. They're scanning the area. Once they know she's here, they'll come fast." Zura clenched her fists. "I won't run." Lyros looked at her. "You have no idea what you're up against." "Then tell me," she said. "Tell me everything." He paused. Then slowly nodded. "Your father rules an empire built on fear. The people of Virex are bred to destroy, but you were born different. Half human, not by mistake, by rebellion." Zura's eyes narrowed. "Rebellion?" "Your mother was a prisoner," Lyros said. "A scientist from Earth, taken during an old raid. She wasn't afraid of the king. She questioned him. And somehow he loved her for it. Until he feared what their child would become." Zura looked away. She didn't want to feel anything for that man. Not even hate. Lyros stepped closer. "Your power doesn't come from strength. It comes from choice. From feeling what others won't. That's what makes you dangerous to him." Outside, the lights began to move. Zura felt it before she saw it. Her skin tingled. The air thickened. The sky turned crimson. Ships were descending. Silent. Smooth. Deadly. "They're not just here to take me," she whispered. "They're here to erase me." David had never held a gun in his life. But that night he stood at the door, shotgun in shaking hands. Emma stayed by the kitchen window, holding a flashlight and praying. "We should hide," she said. "No," Zura answered. "They'll sense me wherever I go. It's me they want. If I don't stop them here, others will suffer." Agent Lyros pulled a glowing device from his coat. "This will mask your signal for a few minutes. Long enough to choose your ground." Zura looked toward the barn. "Then let's make our stand." They moved fast. Inside the barn, Lyros activated old alien tech buried beneath his coat. Floating shields, laser turrets, a small defense barrier around the property. "How did you get all this?" David asked. "I've been preparing since the day she fell from the sky," Lyros replied. "I knew they'd come." Zura stood at the center of the barn, breathing slowly. A low hum filled the air. Outside, the grass flattened. 3 silver. Ships landed with no sound. Doors opened and they stepped out, tall, armored beings with glowing red eyes and long blades on their arms. They moved like shadows, silent but fast. Their skin was black chrome, their faces hidden, but Zura knew who they were. Hunter-class enforcers. Sent only to kill. One of them raised his hand. A voice echoed across the field, like it came from inside every mind. Zura of House Vorax. Surrender, now. Your existence is illegal under galactic law. You are a genetic threat. I'm not surrendering, she said calmly. Not to you. Not to anyone. The air cracked. They charged. The first blast hit the shield with a flash of white light. The barn shook. Emma screamed. David pulled her behind cover. Leiros returned fire, his weapon spitting blue energy. One hunter fell, smoking, but the others kept coming. Zura stepped into the open. Her hands began to glow. Bright, pulsing blue, brighter than ever before. One hunter leapt through the barrier. Zura moved faster than thought. A shockwave exploded from her palm. The hunter flew back 30 feet, crashing into a tree that snapped in half. Birds scattered. Fire sparked in the grass. Leiros stared at her. You've never trained? No, she said. My body remembers. Another hunter circled. Behind her, Zura closed her eyes and turned just in time. Their blades met, metal against light. Her arm sparked but didn't bleed. She twisted, using the hunter's weight, and flipped him over her shoulder like she'd been doing it forever. She was fighting like a warrior of Virex, but with the mind of a human. A perfect balance. They weren't ready for that. As the last hunter stood alone, wounded, it said only one thing. The king knows. He's coming himself. Zura walked up to it. Tell him something for me, she said softly. I'm not hiding anymore. With one final wave of her hand, a pulse of blue light knocked the hunter unconscious. Silence returned. The battle was over, for now. Hours later, fire trucks and army jeeps arrived. Agent Leiros erased their memories using a device that looked like a glowing coin. Just a weather balloon crash, he said. Nothing to see here. But Zura knew better. As she sat, under the stars, bruised and silent, she began to understand what was coming. They would never stop. Her father would never stop. And now, the humans were involved, her family, her home, her people. She wasn't a child anymore. She was a target, a threat, and maybe a weapon. What now? David asked. Leiros looked at Zura. Now, he said, we prepare, because next time they won't send hunters. Zura looked up at the stars, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. They'll send him. The weapon inside. Her 3 days after the attack, Zura sat alone in the ruins of the barn. The sun had just begun to rise, casting long, golden shadows over the broken beams and scorched ground. Smoke still curled from the places where the fire touched the wood. The earth was cracked beneath her feet, and the air still carried the smell of alien metal. But Zura didn't notice. Her hands were glowing again, not flickering like before. Now, they pulsed, steady and alive. Veins of soft blue light ran up her arms beneath her skin, humming like an engine just waking up. She stared at them in silence. What am I becoming? She whispered. Behind her, Agent Leiros watched carefully. He didn't interrupt. He knew what this moment meant. Her body was changing, evolving. And no one knew what the end of that evolution would look like, not even her. In the basement of the Walker house, Leiros had set up a hidden lab. Strange, glowing crystals floated in, tubes. Alien tech hummed with low, eerie sounds. A glass table in the center displayed a 3D map of the galaxy, stars blinking like distant memories. Emma and David watched from the stairs. They looked tired, confused, afraid, but proud. They had raised her like their own. But now, they were realizing something deeper. She wasn't just their daughter. She might be Earth's only hope. Your powers are not normal, Lyros said, scanning her arm with a device. Not even for a half Phyrexian. Something inside you was locked. Something your body has been hiding. Zura frowned. Then why is it waking up now? Lyros turned the scanner around. It showed a strange pattern, like a storm trapped inside. Her cells. Because you fought, he said, and your blood remembered what it was made for. War? No, he said slowly. Balance. Zura looked at her hands again. They weren't weapons. Not yet, but they could become anything. That's what scared her. That night the dreams returned. But they were different now. She stood in a field of fire surrounded by broken machines and burning cities. In front of her was a figure. Tall, wrapped in armor darker than space. His eyes glowed red. His voice was a whisper and a scream at the same time. You will never escape what you are. She tried to speak. To move. But the fire rose higher, and behind the armored figure another shape stood. A woman. Tall, glowing, with eyes like hers. Her mother. Don't be afraid, the woman whispered. You are the bridge between two broken worlds. Zura woke up gasping. Outside the stars flickered unnaturally. Something was coming again. We don't have time, Lyros said the next morning. You need to unlock the rest of your potential. He handed her a small cube. Silver, glowing with strange runes. What is it? A memory key, he said. It was hidden in your pod when you arrived. I've only now managed to open it. Inside is her voice. Zura blinked. My mother? Lyros nodded. Her final message. Zura placed the cube in her palm. It activated instantly. A soft light filled the room, and then a voice. Gentle, human, loving. Zura, my starborn child. The voice trembled, like it was fighting through time and space to reach her. If you are hearing this, I am gone. But know this. You were never a mistake. You were my hope. Your father feared you because you are both heart and fire. Never forget. The strongest force in the universe is not destruction. It is compassion. That is your gift. Zura's eyes filled with tears. The light faded, and something inside her unlocked. Her power exploded in all directions. Not in anger, not in rage, but in grief and clarity. Blue energy rippled out of her skin like waves. The lights in the lab flickered. The house shook. Trees outside bent with the force of it. And then, silence. When Zura opened her eyes, they glowed completely blue. Not just the pupils, her entire eyes. Her hair floated gently in the air, lifted by invisible energy. Emma gasped. David stepped back, but Lyros only smiled. You're ready. In the days that followed, Zura trained. She didn't use weapons. She was the weapon. She learned to bend gravity around her hands, to create shields of pure light. She moved faster than the eye could follow. She could hear heartbeats across the field, feel pain in others like it was her own, but most of all, she could connect. One day she touched a dying deer in the woods, and it healed. Her powers were not only for war, they were for life. Lyros watched in awe. This is something new. Something we've never seen before, not on Earth, not on Virex. Zura looked at the horizon. Then maybe it's time for something new to begin. But peace didn't last. One night, while training alone, she felt it, a voice inside her mind. Dark, sharp, familiar. You are not the only child of the king. She fell to her knees, clutching her head. Images flooded her mind, of another. A boy. Tall, cruel, proud. Her brother, Prince Theros, the true heir of Vorex, the executioner of weak worlds. And now, the next to arrive on Earth. The message ended with one sentence. Surrender now, little sister, or I will burn your planet myself. Zura stood slowly, her hands lit up again, Not with fear, with resolve. Back in the lab, Lyris was already preparing weapons. He's stronger than you, faster, trained in galactic combat since birth. This isn't like the hunters. Zura stepped into the light. I know. Then how will you beat him? Her voice was calm. I won't beat him with strength, she said. I'll beat him with something he was never taught. Lyris frowned. What? Zura looked toward the stars. Mercy. The first battle, the sky cracked open without warning. A tier of violet fire split the clouds above Earth, stretching from one horizon to the other. Birds scattered, animals fled into the woods, and every screen, every phone, every satellite, every device went black. Zura felt it before she saw it. She dropped to her knees, clutching her chest. Not from pain, but from something deeper. A force pulling at her blood, at her bones. A presence she hadn't felt since her dreams. He had arrived. Miles above the surface, a massive ship entered Earth's orbit, black silent, shaped like a jagged crown. No engines, no lights. It moved like a ghost in the sky. From its belly, a single pod descended, glowing red, spiraling toward the ground like a falling star. Zura stood outside her farmhouse watching. The Skyburn agent Lyros stepped beside her. He didn't bring an army, just himself. He doesn't need one, she replied. Are you sure you want to do this alone? Zura's voice was calm. This is between me and him. The pod hit the ground in a blast of red light, carving a crater into the field near Greystone Valley. From the smoke rose a figure, tall, armored, regal, Prince Theros. His armor pulsed with crimson light. His face was sharp, cold, and cruelly handsome. His eyes the same red glow as their father's. He walked forward like a god descending with no fear in his step. Zura met him halfway across the field. They stood in silence, the world holding its breath. He smiled. So, you survived. She stared at him. You came to finish what father started? He tilted his head. No. I came to give you a choice. Surrender or die? No, he said softly. Return. Take your place beside me. We will rule together. You, with your heart. Me, with my fire. Zura almost laughed. You don't understand me at all. He took a step closer. Then let me remind you. Before she could blink, he struck. The field exploded. Zura flew backward, crashing into the ground. Dust rose like smoke. Lightning flashed across the sky. Trees bent from the shockwave. She stood slowly, eyes glowing blue. No fear, no anger. He charged again. They collided midair, red and blue light spiraling around them like clashing stars. Fists met. Energy burst. The ground cracked beneath them. They fought without words. His strikes were brutal, precise, trained for death. Hers were fluid, unpredictable, fueled by instinct, memory, and something older than war. He slammed her through a tree. She responded with a wave of force that sent him flying across the valley. They moved faster than sound, a storm of power tearing through the landscape. Every hit told a story. He was strength without mercy. She was power with purpose. And they were equal. For now, Lyros watched from the farmhouse, broadcasting the scene to a hidden satellite link. Military eyes were watching now. The world was watching, though they didn't understand what they were seeing. Come on, kid, he whispered. Show them who you are. In the crater, Zura dropped to one knee, panting. Theros stood tall, untouched. You're better than I expected. You haven't seen all of me, she said. He laughed. You're bleeding. Zura wiped her lip. So are you. He looked down. A single crack in his armor, glowing blue. His smile faded. You've learned to control your power, he said. Impressive. I didn't just learn it, she said. I embraced it. Zura rose again. The air around her shifted. Her body lifted inches off the ground. Her eyes blazed like stars. The symbols on her skin glowed brighter, and her voice echoed with something ancient. This ends today. Their final clash shook the valley. Light exploded across the sky. red and blue twisting like twin comets. Trees were vaporized. Rocks turned to ash. Clouds parted. Zura moved like lightning, striking not with rage but with clarity. Every move had meaning. Every blow was a message. You don't have to destroy to be strong. But Theros fought harder. He summoned fire from the sky, struck her with lightning forged from their father's throne. He yelled in fury, in fear, in denial. "You don't belong to them," he roared. "You're one of us." Zura caught his arm, held it still, and looked into his eyes. "I'm both," she said, "and that's why I'm stronger." Her final strike was not a blast, not a weapon, it was a pulse. Blue light flowed from her chest into his armor, into his mind. Memories, feelings, her childhood, her dreams, her pain, her love. He collapsed to his knees, shaking. What is this?" She stepped back. "Empathy," she said. "Something you were never allowed to feel." Theros looked up at her, eyes wide, for the first time in his life. He wept. She didn't kill him. She could have, but she didn't. And that made all the difference. Later, as the military arrived, they found the two siblings seated quietly at the edge of the crater. Zura stood as they approached. "He's not your prisoner," she said. "He's my responsibility." "Who are you?" one soldier asked. Zura looked at the sky. "Someone who chose to be more than what I was made for." They left the field that day changed. Theros, silent. Zura, awake. And the world, watching. But, far above, in the depths of space, a shadow stirred. On the throne of Virex, King Vorax watched the battle replay on a floating screen. His generals stood behind him, waiting for orders. "Prepare the fleet," he said coldly. "Are we invading Earth?" a commander asked. The king's eyes blazed. "No, we're bringing her home." The return to Virex the stars no longer felt like dreams. They were calling her now. For years, Zura looked up at the night sky and wondered where she came from. Now she knew, and she was going back. Not as a child cast away, not as a runaway, but as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. 3 days had passed since the battle in Greystone Valley. The world had questions. Videos of Zura and Theros clashing in the sky spread across the internet like wildfire. Some said it was a hoax. Others called her an alien god, a fallen angel, a weapon from another universe. But she ignored all of it. She had something more important to do. "He's building the fleet," Theros said quietly, staring at the screen inside Lyros's hidden ship. "He'll come for Earth." Zura looked at him, eyes calm. "Then I won't wait for him." "You're going there?" Emma asked. Zura nodded. "I have to finish what he started." Lyros revealed the ship 2 levels below the farmhouse. Sleek, silver, and alien, the last surviving model of an old resistance cruiser. "She's fast," Lyros said. "But she's not made for war." "Neither am I," Zura replied. "You sure about that?" David asked, half joking. Zura smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Inside, she was already preparing. Not for battle. For truth. They left Earth under cover of night. Zura, Theros, Lyros, and silence. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, the stars opened wide before them. Cold, brilliant, endless. Zura stood at the window, watching the blue planet grow smaller. "Do you think he'll speak to me?" she asked. "No," Theros replied. "He'll try to kill you. Then I'll make him listen." The journey took 16 hours through the jump gate, an ancient wormhole tunnel built by a forgotten race. Bright streams of time and space blurred around them, colors that didn't exist in human eyes. Zura sat alone in her quarters, meditating, but her thoughts drifted. To Emma and David, to her childhood, to the day she first opened her glowing eyes on Earth. She had been sent away to disappear, but Earth made her strong, not with war, with love. They exited hyperspace above a world, wrapped in storm clouds and metal rings. Planet Virex, a fortress planet. Dark and sharp, Its towers stretched like spears into the sky. 1,000 warships floated in orbit. The air shimmered with energy, shields and weapon grids. "Welcome home," Theros said grimly. "Open the comms," Zura ordered. Lyros hesitated. "Are you sure?" She nodded. He activated the channel. "This is Zura, daughter of Vorax," she said. "I am not here to kneel. I am here to speak, to end this, one way or another." The reply came instantly. "Your presence is unauthorized. Surrender or be destroyed." "I wasn't asking for permission." She stepped forward, eyes glowing. "Blue, take me to him." They were met at the gate by 20 armored guards, elite warriors of the Blood Legion. None of them moved as Zura passed, but she could feel their fear. In the great throne hall, nothing had changed. Black stone walls, floating red flames, and, at the center, on a throne made of bone and steel, King Vorax. He was larger than she remembered, older, but just as terrifying. His armor pulsed with power. His crown floated above his head like a ring of fire. He rose. "You dare return." Zura stood tall. "I came to end this." He laughed. The room shook with it. "You are nothing," he said. "A broken half-blood raised by insects. Those insects taught me more than you ever did," she replied. He stepped down from the throne, each step a small earthquake. "You betrayed your blood. You spared your enemies. You turned my son against me." Theros stood quietly behind her. He didn't look away. "No," Zura said softly. "You turned him into a weapon. I showed him he could be more." Vorax's eyes narrowed. "You came here to preach peace?" "I came here to stop war," he growled. "Then fight me." The crowd of generals and guards stepped back. The throne room shifted, its walls pulling away, the floor opening into a combat ring made for kings. Vorax raised his blade, twice the size of a man, forged in the fire moons of Zex. Zura raised nothing. Her hands glowed. "You really think you can win without a weapon?" he mocked. "I am the weapon." And they charged. The clash was monstrous. Each blow from Vorax cracked the air. Zura dodged, twisted, redirected. She didn't try to overpower him. She made him fight himself, his rage, his size, his pride. He roared, slamming the blade down. She caught it midair with both hands. The ground beneath her feet shattered. But she didn't move. She stared into his eyes. "Why are you afraid of me?" she asked. He snarled. "I fear nothing. You fear change." With a blast of light, she pushed him back. The room trembled. The fire dimmed. Her power was growing with every breath. Not from hate, not from violence, from control, from purpose. Vorax lunged again, but she stopped his blade with one hand and looked into his soul. A pulse of energy flowed into him, memories, feelings, voices from the past. Her mother's voice, the sound of laughter, her first sunrise on Earth. And then, silence. Vorax stepped back, trembling. His sword fell to the ground. He looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. "What? Are you?" Zura stood in the light of her own power. "I'm what you tried to erase," she said. "I'm your legacy. Corrected." He collapsed to one knee, not defeated by power, but by the truth he could no longer deny. And for the first time in centuries, the throne room of Virex was silent. Later, as the sky above the planet began to clear and the warships powered down, Zura stood before the High Council of Generals. Some looked ready to rebel. Others bowed their heads. She didn't ask to rule. She didn't want the crown. She only said one thing. This empire will no longer feed on fear. It will rise from understanding, or it will fall by my hand. The choice is yours. And then she turned and walked away. In the ship, Lyros waited. "What now?" he asked. Zura looked back at the planet that had once cast her out. "I didn't come to take a throne," she said. "I came to open a door. And if they close it again," she smiled, "then I'll show them how to break the wall." But as they prepared to leave, a warning flashed across the ship's radar. A massive vessel, twice the size of any Virexian ship, had entered the edge of the galaxy. Unknown origin, unknown symbol, unknown language. Zura stared at the screen, and, for the first time, she didn't recognize what she was looking at. Lyros looked at her. "That's not from Virex," he said. "No," she whispered. "It's something worse." A new queen, a new future space had never been so quiet. Zura stood on the deck of Lyros's ship, staring at the hologram spinning in front of her. It showed a massive object, no, a city, moving through space like a black sun. Its shape didn't match any known fleet. Its code didn't match any language. Its energy signature was impossible. Theros stood beside her, his face pale. "This isn't just a fleet. It's a planet killer. It's not from Virex," Lyros said. "It's not from Earth. It's not from any system we've charted." Zura's eyes narrowed. "Then we find out what it is, and we stop it." On Virex, the High Council argued in chaos. Some shouted for retreat, others wanted to strike. One general slammed the table. "Why should we follow her? She's not even full blood." The room fell silent. Zura entered. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't threaten, she simply said, "You are free to fight me for leadership. Right here, right now." No one moved. "I am not your queen," she continued. "Not unless you choose me. But if you do, we stand together." "Against what?" another general asked. She turned on the holodisplay, and the room fell into complete silence. The alien structure had no name, no flag, no demands. It simply moved, absorbing power, growing larger. It destroyed 3 moons on the edge of the Virexian Empire in less than an hour. Its ships were fast, silent, and alive. They didn't fire weapons. They dismantled entire civilizations, molecule by molecule. "It's not war," Lyros said. "It's cleansing." Zura's eyes turned cold. "Then, we give it something that can't be erased." A plan formed, not of brute force, but unity. Zura sent envoys to Earth's leaders, offering peace, technology, and defense in exchange for alliance. She reopened the ancient gates between worlds. Virexian scientists worked beside human engineers. Former enemies became allies. For the first time in galactic history, 2 species stood together, not for conquest, but for survival. "They will expect us to panic," Zura said to her new council. "Instead, we will surprise them. We will fight as one." But deep in the night, she still felt the fear. What if she wasn't enough? What if this enemy couldn't be stopped? She stood in the temple of her mother's memories, a quiet place filled with holographic stars and broken dreams. And there, she saw her again. Not real, but remembered. Her mother's face. Calm. Strong. "You carry 2 worlds," the memory whispered. "But you are not meant to carry them alone." Zura touched the light and let the fear go. When the enemy arrived, the sky turned black. Not dark, black. Light bent around the vessel like it didn't belong in this universe. Ships poured out of its belly, smooth, silver, silent. No windows, no markings. Only motion. They didn't respond to messages. They didn't ask for surrender. They simply began to destroy. The battle above Virex was like nothing the galaxy had seen. Human ships fought in formations learned from movies. Virexian warlords roared. Like ancient beasts, Zura led from the front, her body glowing like a star, guiding fighters, shielding cruisers, punching holes through enemy lines with her bare hands. She didn't just fight, she inspired. Soldiers who once called her weak now followed her into death, and then a voice, not in words, not in sound, but in thought. Why resist? Zura froze mid-flight. The voice wasn't from outside, it was in her mind. "Who are you?" she demanded. "We are what comes after. We are what remains when emotion dies. You are a glitch." Zura shook her head. "No. I'm the proof that emotion is power," the voice hissed. "You were meant to be erased. Now we will correct the mistake." The enemy ship released its core, a living weapon, a sphere of pulsing energy, absorbing everything around it. Zura saw it moving toward the heart of Virex. She had one chance. She flew. Fast. Faster than sound. Faster than light. She broke through. Space, through atmosphere, through the impossible, and she met the core head-on. It engulfed her. Pain filled her body. Memories, feelings, loss, fear, hope. Everything at once. It tried to erase her, to rewrite her existence. But something inside her pushed back. Not a weapon, not a scream, a memory. Of Earth, of Emma and David, of the boy at school she protected, of the deer she healed, of her brother weeping, of her mother's voice. You are the bridge. Zura didn't fight the core. She changed it. She gave it what it had never felt. A soul. And it stopped, frozen in light. And then it cracked, shattered like glass. The entire enemy vessel blinked once, and died. Zura fell from the sky, unconscious. Her body burned from energy, her hands scarred with light. But she was alive. And so was everything else. The galaxy held its breath. The threat was gone. For now, the war was over. But something else had begun. 1 week later, Zura stood before the people of Virex and Earth. Not on a throne, not in armor. In silence. I'm not here to rule, she said. I'm here to build. Not an empire, a future. Some still doubted her, but more believed. And as the stars lit up one by one again, peace began to feel real. In her private chamber, she recorded one final message. For anyone, anywhere, who might still be watching. I was banished for being weak, she said, but weakness was never the danger. Indifference was. Now I know what I am. Not a queen, not a soldier, not a weapon. She smiled softly. I am the choice my father never made. And with that, she stepped into the stars once more, not to fight, not to run, but to lead into whatever came next. The end.